Hello, my name is Carla Jackson and I am doing the video presentation. The book that I selected to read was The Importance of Being Lazy in Praise of Play, Leisure, and Vacations. The author is Gini. This book was published in 2003, so it's a fairly recently published book. This book has 9 chapters, which I'll be going over. One chapter was the epilogue, one chapter was the prologue. So it's a total of 7 chapters plus the prologue and the epilogue. And in order to kind of like organize the flow of this video presentation, I took some notes and I put them on my computer. And so this is actually what I'll be following. I just used like excerpts, some quotes, and metaphors and things like that to create a flow for this video presentation. To start, the prologue. The name of the prologue was The Project and the Problem. We have made a fetish out of work. It's now part of our character and culture. We have become addicted to the promise of work because work promises we will get ahead. Work promises, and so we work. So basically the beginning, the prologue chapter just basically talked about the history of work, kind of like the why we work, what our goals are, and what work gives us in return, which is usually a paycheck, but it ends up being a lot more, and this book dives into that. Next, it goes over the Protestant work ethic in America. So it touches on, this is something that we went over in our class, and the Protestant work ethic it goes back to the Protestant religion. It was a religious belief that working was considered to be religious, and idle time was like leading to sin. So I guess when you do nothing, you're more likely to do something bad, which actually makes a lot of sense. And it's saying that the Protestant work ethic, even though we're supposedly a very modern time, America really does uplift very highly people who work hard. There was 3 longitudinal studies that were mentioned in this book, which all came out to the same conclusion. Vacations may be good for your health. An overworked man is an imaginative one. At best, dully completing a routine. At worst, making serious mistakes. That definitely said something to me, because someone who's overworked, when you're overworked and you haven't had a lot of sleep and stuff, you'll notice that your brain kind of turns into mush. You just really can't function. So people go into autopilot. So it says at best, you will be dully completing a routine. At worst, making serious mistakes. If you've ever heard of medical errors, and this is like when nurses make little mistakes or some really big mistakes, and sometimes it leads to a lot of lives. People die every day in hospitals because of nurses and doctors, and when they go and find out the actual cause is the person was tired. You have some nurses working 12 hours a day, and they're putting in a lot of time, making a lot of money, but they, after a while, your brain just is not functioning up to its full capacity. This goes into chapter 1, the other side of leisure. Work, damn it. Yes, chapter 1 actually does say work, damn it. Work is the other side of leisure. Quote, I do not like work even when someone does it, by Mark Twain. I could relate to that quote so much, because imagine, I don't like work, but all the time we go and we view other people working, and they don't. You can tell when someone doesn't like their job, or maybe they're tired, maybe they might be sick. Imagine think about the last time you went to a restaurant and a waiter came and waited on you, and you can immediately tell if the person is well rested, if the person is tired, if the person is aggravated. When you go through a drive-through at a fast food restaurant and the person has the attitude like, place your order, like what? Or whatever. And then, a lot of times people react and say, oh, they need to get another job. They don't like the job. But really, it's not as simple as that. Everybody needs a job, and that's exactly what people end up doing. And sometimes they're not doing something they like. Reference back to the Protestant work ethic. As a society, we are obsessed with time. We have never been comfortable with the abstract notion of free time, unstructured time, dead time, downtime, wasted time makes us ill at ease. So this basically just went into the fact that as much as people don't like to work, they are more so scared of doing nothing. Idle time worries people. For instance, in America, a lot of times we are related to our work. When you meet someone, immediately people want to say, "What do you do?" So upon meeting somebody, you automatically become Freddie, the firefighter, Nancy, the nurse, Don, the doctor, whatever it is that you may be doing, you are actually defined by your work. So people are nervous about not working because it becomes like, who am I now? So then let's say Freddie retires from firefighting. What is he now? He's the retired firefighter. So we relate to people as their work. Metaphor. We have adapted to workaholism in much the same way a frog can adapt to a pot of boiling water. That metaphor spoke to me because it just goes into that metaphor of when you put a frog in boiling water, you in cold water, and you slowly raise up the temperature, the frog can adapt, and it keeps adapting to the point where it dies in the boiling water. This is the same way as we work in America. We get into a job, we're given tasks, we do it. They give us more work, we do that. They give us more work, we do that. They may change everything about the work and we have to relearn everything. You get less sleep, you have children, you're doing, you go home and you work, you cook dinner, you're getting less sleep. And you steadily add on more and more and more. At the same time, you may be getting more and more bills. You're not even noticing your own well-being and health. And it's basically saying we are the frog a lot of times in the water. And we don't even notice it. You have some people at jobs who are taken out on stretchers, heart attacks, strokes, anxiety attacks, breakdowns, all types of. Why? Because we have that inner thermostat, and if you turn it off and you stop paying attention because the changes are so gradual, it can become a very dangerous situation. Chapter 2, Leisure and Culture. Lazy is often used as a 4-letter word to ridicule individuals who lack energy and effort, or who are slow moving, sluggish, slothful, or just plain goofing off. To be labeled lazy is to be thought of as immature, undependable, irresponsible, indolent, and or uselessly idle. There's really no explanation needed for that. This is just how in America we look at people who are lazy, people who are doing nothing. We crave to do nothing, but when someone's doing nothing, we call them lazy. It's looked down, it's frowned upon. In other countries like China, for instance, if a person is at their desk with their head down resting or asleep, they look up to that and they say this person is a hard worker. In America, if you walk behind somebody who was asleep, if you're a supervisor, 9 out of 10, you're going to fire them. So it's just a totally different ethics that we have. Chapter 3, Vacations and Traveling. I was so excited when we got to this book because this chapter 3, Vacation and Traveling, because actually the first couple of chapters just talked about work, and more work. So I started to think like, well, I thought this book was about leisure. This author took a totally different direction, so I couldn't wait to see what he had to say about vacation and traveling. Recreation, said our Puritan forefathers, is something that restores a person to better work and service. Social critics and businessmen alike argued that it made good sense to rest both the workers and the equipment in order to guarantee the best possible results. After all, the human machine, like its mechanical namesake, needs a period of rest and recuperation in order to stay fit. Now that made a lot of sense. Saying, hey, you give your machines a break. How many times have you gone to the laundromat? That's for anybody who goes and wash clothes at the laundromat. And you see there's a sign on maybe a washer or dryer that says temporarily out of service. When we're not using our computers at night, our computers sleep. it is very important for machines to rest, for them to actually last longer and to be more productive. And that's the same way we need sleep, we need rest as well. Everything gets sleep. Chapter 4, mini vacations, aka the weekend. We love the weekend. But actually, during the week, the average person works 40 hours. That's 8 hours of work per day for 5 days. Okay, so there's 8 hours per day for work. There's 8 hours that they say you do what you will time. That's your personal time to do what you want. And then there's 8 hours it's recommended that we sleep. 8 plus 8 plus 8 equals 24. However, what people don't realize is you might take 30, 45 minutes to get ready for work. You might take another 30, 45 minutes to an hour to get to work. So your travel time and your preparation time is not even factored in the 8 hours that you work. You might actually, if you factor those hours in, be working a total of 10 hours. This does also not include when you get home, if you have children and you're doing homework with them or you're cooking dinner. This is also considered work. So let's say if you factored all that time in, your do what you want time is cut short. But what they have found is people are not going to cut short their do what they want time. People want to watch TV or listen to music, read a book, whatever they're doing. And where do they take that time from? Sleep. They subtract it from the 8 hours they need of sleep. And this actually becomes a very horrible cycle because you need that sleep. Everybody has to rest. Now, as far as the weekend comes with its own problems. Everybody can't wait to get to Friday. But once Friday gets there, what do we think? Oh my gosh, Monday is right around the corner. So this creates a sense of urgency. The idea is always playing in the back of our mind from the time we get off of work on Friday is soon it will be Monday. They said this is at odds with relaxation. You can never really relax thinking about Monday the whole weekend. Chapter 5 was shopping at leisure and play. I really, really, really enjoyed this chapter. It talked a lot about shopping and how in America we just love to shop, and we have created this as a form of leisure. But it gets really, really deep into that, and I just put a note for that chapter. America, we love to shop. Chapter 6 was sport and play. So right after they gave you something for us ladies, the next chapter bounced back to the men, something that they really, really enjoy. Plato, in his classic works, The Republic and the Laws, argues that the purpose of sports is to teach competition, coordination, and cooperation. Sports are something we do or view for the love of it. Sports are benign distraction, simple entertainment, an escape, or a buffer against the realities of the everyday world. Quote, give men an open field, a ball to catch or kick, or someone to chase, and they are happily, despite all else. And that's by Baruch Spinoza, a Jewish philosopher. So it basically was just saying that people love their sports. They do. It's a great recreation, and sports fulfills a lot of different domains, not only for the person who's playing a sport, but also for the spectator. Chapter 7 was the ultimate vacation. We made it to retirement. So chapter 7 basically talked about retirement and how at one time people worked until they were no longer able to because they had no other alternative. It wasn't until Roosevelt administration pushed through the Social Security Act in 1935, the general proliferation of union contracts and benefits, and the emergence of private pension plans and investment funds, that retirement of the common became a realistic possibility. So at one time, you're saying prior to 1935, there wasn't even really a retirement, no real retirement. You just worked until you couldn't work. So that means people might have worked themselves to death or until they were disabled. So grateful for that, having something to look forward to after working all these years, and and being that this book just explains how, as much as we love to work, we hate to work as well. What I did want to touch on is the Harvard Medical Schools. They give some tips, the 7 secrets to a long, happy life. 1, not smoking or quitting early. 2, a positive mental attitude, being able to cope with, if not cure, life problems. 3, not total abstinence from alcohol. Thank God. Yes, the book actually says thank God, but the absence of alcohol abuse. 4, healthy weight. 5, a solid marriage. 6, exercise and physical activity. And remember, sex is exercise too. Yes, the book did say that, but it didn't mention that safe sex is the best sex. 7, years of education. The more years of schooling people have, the more they tend to age successfully. So that was kudos to us. We're in school and actually we're doing something right, because studies have shown that people who, the more education you have, the better your life will be, the more healthy you will be. So this basically was a longitudinal study. That's how they got these 7 secrets to a healthy life. They followed 24 people for their whole life. And they found that people who did at least 4 of those things on the list, by the time they were 50, lived to at least 80 and were very healthy. The last chapter, which is the epilogue, was Sabbath as metaphor. And it's just basically notes most things have to be planned for. And more often than not, the better the plan, the better the outcome. But sometimes, who's got time to plan? So why not deal with somebody who knows what they're doing? They plan, you play. And that's where we come in, you recreators. We are going to be recreational therapists. Some of us are going to be sports management, regardless. This is where our field comes into play. People need us to plan their play. So it was a great book. It was a great read. I thank the professor for picking the books on the list. This actually book was only $4.99. That's why I picked it, and I was not disappointed.